got through the week. A lot of the prep for this game had kind of carried forward, even from at least offensively from Nebraska prep. Some of the same type of things and some of the same pressures defensively. Cousins is a guy that has basically this year they run the same offense, but a little bit more, featuring their running backs, the guys that carry the ball, and a little bit of the receivers in the back end. So it's been a good week of practice. Nick Toon practiced all week from an injury standpoint. He's 100% good to go, and Kevin Zeitler, and really isn't anybody out. Patrick Buttram ran around a little bit today. We'll probably rest him tomorrow and hopefully be full go for Saturday, but he didn't practice the full week.
In the past, have you guys practiced on grass before going?
Mm-hmm. We're practicing tomorrow. Yep. Tomorrow we're practicing on we've lined it today, and what are those fields called down by the U-Bay? We used to have camp out there. We had been practicing up here and the thing we did in the NIU game is we did our Friday walkthrough on the turf in Chicago, but East Lansing won't let us on the turf. I wanted to go over there and practice on Friday, but they won't let anybody on the field, so we're going to do it here and then fly over.
Is Golston a significant loss for them, do you think?
Brian just told, we weren't aware of it. We've been planning on playing, so he's a very good football player, obviously, and, apparently the league stepped in, right? It was Michigan State, not the league, so, you kind of just treat it like an injury situation. You thought he was going to be there and he's not, but it's, I know our kids were looking forward to the challenge of playing him.
Do you assume that they won't change much?
Yeah, scheme-wise, yeah, no. I mean, they roll guys through there. I don't know who will get the start, but they play 3 or 4 DNs, so, it's, I don't see it changing schematically.
Did you have a chance to watch the depth chart full?
You know what? Last night at practice, I ran in and I caught like 5 minutes of it. It was, but I had to speak at the Mendota Club last night, and it was about 190 people that were at that thing, and they said they were all in there watching it, and everybody was saying great things last night. My phone was blowing up left and right, just about the positive side of it. So I know the kids were giving Russell and everybody grief today what they saw on film or what they saw on the show, so it was a fun thing.
Did you script the end of it, Russell saying?
I've just actually, Tom, people have told me today what he said, but I didn't lead one kid, and I
couldn't have been much better though.
I heard, it's just another example of what that kid, what he thinks and what he believes and what he says.
You guys really haven't been challenged all year. Do you think your team's ready for a potential adversity situation?
Well, we've had bits and pieces. I understand where you're coming from. One of the advantages we have of playing good is we really believe our defense is going against one of the best offenses in the conference in the country, and vice versa. So we've had adversity amongst ourselves, when we're competing, but not under the big lights and on the road. We had it here with the fumble against Nebraska when Jared Abaderis put the ball on the ground, and our defense let him score, and then we responded really good after that. So I think the response is there. It's just waiting to happen.
You said on Saturday Gordon was going to exam on Tuesday.
Yeah, he had a procedure done today. He's on crutches. I think he'll be on those for about 3 to 4 weeks. They basically did some things to, not to get too technical, but just relieve the area that was stressing him, and may get him back in maybe 3 or 4 weeks. They're not going to really know until this procedure takes place or how it takes his body.
So are you looking, depending on how when he comes back, as a medical waiver?
Absolutely, yeah. It's there because he only played in 3 games, and you're allowed 4 in the first 6. So hopefully that'll come through. He actually wants to play if he can come back sooner than they expect, so it's kind of a wait and see.
When Josh Oglesby was being recruited, he said that he guaranteed pretty much a national title before. Do you remember that?
I do.
Before his class?
I do.
What was your reaction?
You know what? It was a couple weeks ago. I think somebody in the program, they interviewed him, and somebody asked him about that quote, and he said, well, that was a 18-year-old kid that was a little full of himself, and that probably was. But Josh, the thing I appreciate about him, he's always thought big, he dreams big, and hopefully it'll pay off.
The past trips to Spartan Stadium, last 3 times, does that play into the mindset this year?
Well, I think last year's trip for sure. There's no doubt. I mean, I'm really the only one who's been for the last 3. Coach Christ, I guess, might have been on staff, but no, because that was my first year. So really, the only person in his organization that has been there for the last 3 that has an active role in his game plan is me. This has not been a week of revenge. It's not a week of payback. It's a week of how are we going to improve from where we were a year ago. And to me, like a big statement for us was when we left the Champs Bowl, getting beat by Florida State, to come back and play the way we did when we beat Miami, a year's growth. This is the same thing, right? We left the locker room last year took the lessons we learned, we applied it to Iowa and won that game, went on to win every Big Ten road game since then. It was a week about how individually we were going to get better for what we're going to do this Saturday.
And you mentioned you were the only one for that 04 game. Do you ever remember anything?
Oh yeah, they remember Mike linebacker. You know who that was, and yeah, they went after specifically. They had designed some plays they'd never shown on film, and yeah, that was a tough one. It was probably one of my more just because you had Grandeur. That was the biggest. I think that was we ranked 4 or 5 or something like that, and you know that was my first year. You're feeling good about everything, and then just everything that day was kind of. Didn't we get stalled like 3 or 4 times in the first half inside the 20 without any points?
Right at the end of the half, 4 times.
Yeah, like a couple different things. And, yeah.
Do you feel like you got 2 starting caliber guys at strong safety with Dez and Sheldon?
I do. Shelton's really looked good this week. I think last week he was like at that 90, 95 percentile, and Shelton was playing as good as any of our safeties when he got hurt. So really Aaron can interchange back there as well. Those 3 guys kind of playing, and I am excited about that was a position at the beginning of the year you almost worried about what we had, and now it's a position maybe of strength.
How much flexibility does that give you if you need it in the nickel?
Well, huge in nickel, because actually our best nickel combination before Shelton got hurt was having Shelton at the nickel and keeping Marcus and Antonio there. So that is a big deal, because otherwise we got to put Crow into the nickel and put Peniel on the corner, and maybe not as good.
So with Shelton back now, you can go back.
We've got both. Yeah, that kind of depends on scheme and call. But I tell you, 21's been, for me, he's been very surprising and played very well. So we've been excited about him.
Nothing against Belai, but do you think you've upgraded over at that position? He went through some things last year, Jay, but
You know, I think the one thing, Tom, that Jay was always an energy guy, and that he kind of, I was a little concerned last Saturday going into the locker room before the game. I didn't know if we had the pizzazz that we had in a couple prior games, but they obviously came out and played very well. Just a different environment. Yeah, and I think Jay, we knew what he was. We knew what his strengths were. We definitely knew what his weaknesses were, so we tried to cater everything around him. These guys are pretty versatile. They're more complete. You know, you wanted to keep Jay as close to the line of scrimmage as he could. These guys kind of have the ability to do both.